You know that smell of fresh baked cookies? Or a scoop of vanilla bean ice cream on a hot day? That flavor, that scent, it's just everywhere. It's comforting, it's simple, but the story behind it, well, it's anything but simple. In fact, it's a story packed with crime, desperation, and a global trade that's been pushed to the absolute edge. So let's dig into the real price of vanilla. So take a look at this. Out in the jungles of Madagascar's Sava region, this bean is at the center of a super high stakes and often really violent business. We're not just talking about farming here. This is more like a treasure hunt, where the treasure has to be guarded with people's lives. Okay, so just how valuable are we talking here? The answer is, well, it's pretty mind-blowing, and it explains why things on the ground have gotten so incredibly tense. Get this. For a while now, the price of a kilogram of vanilla has been right up there with the price of a kilogram of silver. Seriously. You've got this perfect storm of huge demand, some really bad harvests, and a ton of speculation that has just sent the price of this spice into the stratosphere. And when a price shoots up like that, you can bet there are some serious, dangerous consequences. We're talking about villagers having to stand guard over their vanilla vines 24/7. Organized gangs, they call them vanilla snatchers, are raiding fields. And in response, some of these communities have formed their own vigilante groups to deliver some pretty brutal on-the-spot justice. So what does this vanilla rush actually look like for the people who are living right in the middle of it? Well, it's a mix of sudden, incredible wealth and just complete social chaos. This quote from an agricultural expert, man, it just says it all. You have farmers who are completely abandoning the crops they need to survive, things like rice and manioc. And why? Because why would you grow food for your family when you can gamble on growing vanilla and maybe, just maybe, strike it rich? It's a huge risk that's changing everything about how people live. And this is why the situation in Madagascar matters to all of us. The island supplies a staggering 80% of the entire world's natural vanilla. That's basically a monopoly, which means any problem there, a hurricane, a crime wave, sends massive shockwaves through the whole global market. Just look at these numbers. The volatility is insane. 5 years ago, vanilla was about $20 a kilo. Then it shot up to a peak of $600. Today, it's sitting around $515. Imagine being a farmer trying to plan your life with that kind of instability. It's a wild ride, and there's no safety net. A price crash could literally wipe them out overnight. So, why is all this happening? It's not just one thing. It's a really complex mess of global economics, local crime, and at its heart, a supply chain that is fundamentally broken. There's actually a name for this phenomenon. The IMF's representative in Madagascar calls it the vanilla disease. It's a classic resource curse. You've got all this wealth pouring into the country from this natural resource, but it's not actually making life better for most people. In a lot of ways, it's actually making things worse. And the problems just keep piling up. You have criminals from the illegal rosewood trade using vanilla to launder their money. You have hundreds of new middlemen jumping into the game just trying to make a quick buck, which drives prices up even more. And because everyone's so afraid of theft, farmers are harvesting the beans way too early, before they're ripe, which means the quality of the vanilla has just plummeted. This quote about cocoa really paints a picture of the old way of doing business. For decades, huge companies bought these ingredients totally anonymously. All they cared about was getting a certain flavor at the cheapest possible price. They didn't know what country it came from, let alone the farmer who grew it or what their life was like. But things are starting to change. When you have someone like Victoria Mars from the Mars candy family saying out loud that the whole system is broken, well, that's a really big deal. The crisis has gotten so bad that the biggest buyers in the world are finally waking up and admitting that this anonymous, hands-off approach just doesn't work anymore. So once you admit the system's broken, the big question is, what do you do about it? And this realization has kicked off a major search for a better way, with big companies now getting their hands dirty to try and fix the very system they used to ignore. It's actually kind of shocking. You had top executives from massive companies like Danone and Mars, people whose products depend on vanilla, admitting that when they first went to Madagascar, they knew almost nothing about how it was actually grown. That sense of shock, though, seems to have been a real wake-up call. Okay, so here's the new game plan. There's this initiative called the Livelihoods Fund, and it's trying to completely redesign the supply chain. The goals are pretty simple, but also pretty revolutionary. First, cut out all the middlemen who are taking a huge slice of the pie. Second, connect the farmers directly with the companies buying their beans. And third, this is a big one, help farmers learn to cure their own beans. That's the long drying process that develops all the flavor. Doing that themselves can boost their income by up to 4 times. That's life-changing. But look, this can't just be some corporate plan handed down from on high. For any of this to actually work, the change has to come from the ground up, at the village level. And that is exactly what's starting to happen. The communities themselves are organizing. And they are getting so creative about it. I mean, they're organizing their own night patrols to guard the fields. They're even stamping individual vanilla beans with a unique family mark while the bean is still on the vine. So if it gets stolen, they can prove it's theirs. It's brilliant. And when you combine that with authorities finally handing out tougher sentences, these local efforts are really starting to make a difference. All right, so as we start to wrap this up, it's really important to see that this whole situation is about so much more than just one flavor, no matter how much we all love it. It's a powerful lesson about the hidden costs that are baked into our global economy. Yeah, this story is bigger than vanilla. You could swap in cocoa or coffee or so many other ingredients that travel thousands of miles to end up in our kitchens. It really forces us to stop and ask what we're actually paying for. Just look at this breakdown. The disconnect is so stark. For us, on one side, it's a simple luxury. It's an affordable ingredient for our ice cream and our perfume. But for many of the producers in Madagascar, it's a daily struggle for survival, in a country where almost half of all children suffer from stunting because of malnutrition. That is the real hidden cost. So the next time you're at the grocery store, maybe just pause for a second. It's worth asking, right? What's the real story behind this? What journey did it take to get here? Because as the story of vanilla shows us, just understanding that journey, that's the first real step toward fixing a very broken system.